Hi, welcome back to the project where we are creating an AI entity based on large language models. This is progress report for days 7 through 20. And let's recap what's happened so far on the channel in regards to the videos. I've posted one introduction video and one progress report on the day 7. And since then there were no videos, and this is the next video 3, you could say. And this is it. In the last videos, in the introduction I've explained what the project is about, and in the progress report video I've shown a basic UI using Streamlit framework, and talked about adding a database, ChromaDB in particular. And basically that's it. Now let's move on to this video 3, and today is day 20. So let's begin. In this video we'll discuss me choosing the initial database, like will it be a vector database or will it be some other database for the app logic. More on this later in the next slides. Next we'll discuss about Streamlit limitations and how I picked a different framework, and then, as it turns out, I've picked React for the UI, and I will talk about it for some time. After that, I will showcase what I've accomplished so far using React, like without any prior knowledge about React. And later on, at the end, I will share my reflections about the project and my emotions currently, like connected to the project and to the overall state of my life. And the very last, we'll discuss what's next for the menu for the project. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, database choice, days 7 and 8. Initially, I thought that we'll pick a vector database, for example, a ChromaDB database to store messages, application logic, and we'll be creating some kind of memory for the AI entity using it. But as it turns out, at least from what I've understood, ChromaDB vectorizes every record, and vectorization has limits. Like ChromaDB has a built-in vectorizer, and you can use OpenAI vectorization networks, like for embedding the text and for later similarity search. But the problem is that the length of the text is limited, and I really wanted to like an unlimited size of records, and overall I need a database for the application. And like starting 2 databases at the same time seemed quite a lot of work for me. And as you know, this is a quick project, so I needed to cut some corners. My pick was MongoDB, like NoSQL database, because I worked with it previously, and unlike PostgreSQL, like you don't need to do migrations when you change the schema, and during the development I will be I've already changed the schema quite a bit. So like it would have been quite difficult to do the migrations, keep everything is in check. Even if we consider like JSON record or JSON field in the PostgreSQL, it will not be as smooth as MongoDB. So I picked MongoDB and we went from that. And in regards to my future plans, I will be introducing some vector database, maybe ChromaDB, but just not at this time. And I also thinking about adding a graph database, in particular Neo4j. Like I don't really know much about graph databases, so it will be a learning for me. And I'm not sure when it will happen. So right now we are doing it with MongoDB. And I also got DALI 3 from OpenAI, and these images were generated from DALI 3. It's really amazing, like especially it can now work with text, which is really amazing in comparison to the other models that I've previously seen around. Let's move on to the next slide. Now, day 9. So at day 9, I wanted to reconsider picking Streamlit UI or Streamlit framework for the UI, and so I've searched the web a bit for it. Sorry, let's move back to the slide structure. I kind of got ahead of myself. So Streamlit was a nice place to start. It's really easy to get started. It has a lot of components. You don't need CSS. You don't need like to know JavaScript. You don't need almost anything. Like it just works. It's really great in this regard, and it's really great for dashboards, I think. Yes, but what I've started to realize is that I feel a bit suffocated with it because I really want to have freedom of expression, so to speak, and like do asynchronous updates of the UI elements. I also want AI entities to initiate messages, not just reply to the user action. And Streamlit, it triggers a full re-render on user inputs. And when user inputs do not happen, it just sits there. And anyway, maybe I'm missing something about it. It's okay, I guess. But as I was able to understand it, it will be quite limited for me and my desires for the user interface for the model, like not model, entity. Yes. Now let's move on to the next slide. Yes. So for the past like 10, 11, 12 days, I've been just learning React and implementing UI in the React. It brought about like the freedom of expression and also a lot of complexity, I guess. And I've spent quite a few days on it. I really wanted to stay focused, of course. Let's move to the slide itself. So about me, I don't have any prior knowledge of React and quite limited HTML and CSS knowledge. I just like programming like in Jupyter notebooks or just in command line interfaces, like writing applications and communicating with them uh, through not very visually appealing ways, because it's easier, I guess. Yes, I've tried looking for a tool that will build a user interface, a layout for me, but I failed. Like quite a few tools. Uh, there are quite a few of tools for this, but how do I say it? Quite a few of them do not allow export to code, and they just want to serve you the website, from what I understand. And also, I don't know. I found it difficult to start with them. So um, I've just googled Flask and React tutorial, like getting started. Flask because I know Python and I have some experience with Flask. And once I've completed this tutorial and got a basic like an empty project working in React, like it just clicks a button. Uh, um, then I like on the screen when you start the basic React project, an empty project, you get this a React icon and also a URL. Turns out it was a URL to learn React, like react.dev/learn. I followed the URL and found their material quite appealing. It was very interesting for me, and I decided to like learn React a bit, you could say. Um, I found it very beautiful actually, and expressive, and it like fixed all my problems with working with web through pure HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I really liked the localization of the state to the elements, and also working with React, it was like really stimulating because the patterns they use are quite complex. Yes, and so I decided to like read everything they have in regards to tutorials and like explanation of the patterns, the paradigm, philosophy. It took me 5 days, like 5 days, and one day I had to do some medical tests, so I've skipped it. So it like took me 6 days, but actually I've been reading it, just reading for 5 days. After I completed the reading, I moved on to actually implementing the UI. And the first 1 and 2 days were very difficult. I've made a lot of mistakes. The learning curve was quite sharp. I also use Cursor AI IDE for this. Like it's powered by GPT-4 API, my personal API. And also I'm using ChatGPT, of course, for this development as well. Using ChatGPT is quite cheaper than using GPT-4 API and directly. Each has like drawbacks and pros. Now, yes, let's move on to the actual like UI. Let me show you how it looks. How do I do it? Okay. So this is the UI I've came up with and been working on. As you can see, like it's not much, I guess, and these colors are just for me to better develop it. You can see we have conversations history. In my case, they're called interactions. Some stats like messages, participants, threads. Maybe I will not implement threads in time, and like the cost of this conversation. So you can like scroll them. You can also create new ones, like this. Actually, it's not really working yet. Well, it worked, but then it broke. So there is that. I will fix it soon. And also like all the entities you could pick from. Like this is me. I'm human. The rest are like robots, AIs. Some stats. Also like you can edit the title and remove the conversation. And for the entities, you could copy, edit, remove, and add to the participants list for a particular conversation. For example, if I click here, I'm the only participant because I'm the initiator of the like interaction. And later on, I will implement it. You can add a participant here, like an AI entity. Here's Maria, by the way. These are just random names. And I also can kick participants from the chat. Also, I can hide it. Yeah, the blue is pretty ugly. And show it back. So this is the UI I've been working on for 5 days and 50 hours. You actually can't send messages yet. So there is that. Like you can create entity here and like edit entity, etc. I guess that's it for UI for now. Let's move on to the next slide. So the next slide is like with reflections. Reflections about the state, and like the next will be emotions. Yeah, so I guess if you are not interested in my thoughts, emotions, you can leave now. If you for some reason watched it to this place, please like, subscribe. I will I appreciate every view, like and if you subscribe, it will almost make my day. Yeah, I kinda feel embarrassed saying that. Sorry. Okay, reflections. I've been reflecting every day on this like UI. Is it a mistake to develop UI at this point? I think it might be from one perspective, maybe not from the other. But from the perspective of actually working on AI brains, it's definitely a mistake, and I can say at this point that I should have went with a command line interface right away. I really want this UI to be useful for me personally, because I can talk with ChatGPT, right, and it's okay, but it doesn't allow the full control that I have, for example, in Playground with GPT-4 API. It summarizes messages, loses information, and even being trained on this information, and like sharing a lot of personal stuff with it. somewhat uncomfortable for me becomes. And so I wanted the UI for me personally to remember the conversations unlike playground. Yes. I also quite often think about am I repeating the mistakes I've made with the simulation project I have on this channel that is dead now, I guess. Uh, like I've worked on it for a year, and the last update was 7 years ago. Uh, I worked on it because I didn't have the job any job, and when I actually decided to find a job and started working, it was quite exciting for me, like being a freelancer and working in Python, earning actual money. And so I didn't do anything for that project since then. Um, I'm trying my best to stay focused on the project, and it's actually quite difficult because I also am afraid of failing, like not doing anything interesting or with the project or with AI, with memory for the AI, not creating something some exciting or AI entity. So yeah, there are such emotions in me. Um, yes, so one time recently I wanted to like implement a drag and drop functionality between the participants of the conversation and all entities, and I actually almost implemented it. I could have like dragged and dropped, but I decided to scrap it because it's not essential. But I really wanted it. But I decided not to spend more time on it. So kudos for it, I guess, for me. Also, it's very important for me actually for the UI to be appealing visually, because making videos like YouTube videos like this one is important for me. It it kinda taps into my emotional needs, I guess, desires to be seen, etc. Okay, now it gets too deeply personal. Let's move on. Yes, I already told this one. Um, yes, and yes, I need to refocus actually, and I think I will skip quite a few features I wanted to add to the UI and just go and leave it as a basic version for now and start working on actually the brains for the AI entities I have in the chat. So it's like I will be working on them through command line interface, through Jupyter notebooks, and then connect them to this beautiful UI and interact with them through it. So I think it will be useful, like, and good for like videos making and for comfort in interacting with them for me personally, because they are very useful tools like these GPT things, large language models, and I find them very useful for my personal life development, etc., in the research. And so I think I might do something good for myself here. Let's move on to the next one. Yes, more about emotions, as I promised. Lots of emotions and quite interesting picture. Yes. So FOMO and pain, emotional stream of consciousness. This is it. Uh, yes. Lately, I've seen an uptick in like research into memory for large language models. Maybe it's just because I've started working on it, and so I see more of it. But David Shapiro, like, I think he said that there is an uptick. actually, and it's really difficult for me to read any papers right at the moment because of my history with AI that has been going on for the last 15 years of procrastination and delays. And also, like, I have a lot of ideas, right? And for example, some of the ideas I had half a year ago, but then I see them being implemented now or in a month after I had it, and it's really painful for me, like seeing them being implemented, and it actually prevents me from being productive and actually consuming this knowledge in efficient manner. There is also another danger actually that when you read some ideas in research, uh, I kind of want to uh, glue to them and just implement them. So I'm afraid of losing some originality when I do some research into the ideas. But at some point I will be researching like and reading papers and actually watching David Shapiro's videos because they're quite useful. There is a lot of useful information there, and he's quite articulated. And how do you say it? Um, I forgot. He provides this information in a very good way that can be understood by people. Yes, so I also feel pain from having so many ideas and not having enough time to actually go and implement them because I need money to eat and like pay rent and I don't have them. As you know, I don't have a job at the moment and I will be looking for it in a few days. I will be starting to look for it in a few days and it's quite scary because I have money left for like a month if so, and that's all. Yeah, sometimes I say Russian words. About me, I'm from Belarus originally, right? But when the war started in the Ukraine with Russia, uh, I decided I better go and say bye bye to Belarus, and so I don't live there anymore. And in Belarus, like everyone speaks in a Russian language. We have our own language, Belarusian, but like I think uh, I've met around 10 people in my whole life while living there that are actually speaking in Belarusian for the daily life, and the rest just speak Russian. So sometimes a random Russian word will come through. Yes. Um, so yeah, I don't live in Russia. I don't live in Belarus. Uh, for like, well, I left Russia like at the beginning of March or 2022, like first numbers of March. It was crazy. Yes. So seeing ideas implemented not by me, very difficult. Maybe it's something like academic jealousy or something. Many emotions. Yes. Maybe some of you even relate to this. If you do and know how to solve it or some coping mechanisms, please share them below. I would appreciate it. I don't have a solution at this moment. Now, there is a mini side quest with coding timelapse. What I mean by that is I've been recording all the time I've been programming with user interface in React, So I have a recording of the screen where I code, and I also have a recording of a webcam that constantly records me during this coding. And I also already have 50 hours, so like it's almost all the time I have spent on this UI project. Maybe 1 or 2 hours were left out when I forgot to turn on the recording. So I'm planning to do a time lapse, like at least of coding, right? Maybe not my webcam recording, because when I tried to doing a time lapse of the webcam recording, it was like me moving around quite a lot, and maybe it would be, I think it would be uncomfortable to watch. But maybe I will try like a short video, not all 50 hours. And even for coding, I will have to probably split them, these videos. So I thought that it would be an interesting project to do. But I'm not sure if it will be done, because I need to uh, remove some parts of the videos, so like also put it all together, do the time lapses, and it will take time, so it will be difficult. Also, pretty nice picture, like it's like somebody is creating AI doing programming and records themselves. Let me show you this. Okay, let's move on to the next thing. And this, sorry about that. This is last slide, yes. Thank you for watching. I really, wait. Thank you for watching. Now I look directly into the camera. And I really appreciate if you watched this video so far, like to this point even. Maybe you've just skipped it around. I still appreciate your view. Now, please like the video if you liked it, of course. And if you would like to receive updates, please subscribe to my channel. Also, as you can see, the picture is sad. At first it was like fun, joyful, but I've decided to go with sad, because I'm not in a very good mood, because I thought that the project I will have some results after 25 days of the project, but I took this detour with the UI for the whole 10 days and kinda didn't get the progress I wanted so far. But I will plow on, you could say, if I said it correctly. Now, yes, I appreciate your view, the person viewing this. Thank you. And I also understand that the videos are like really long, and there is not much to show in the videos, just me talking a lot and these slides, these pictures, and some UI glimpses. But I really want to put out AI stuff, like interesting AI stuff, and I'm getting closer to it. Yes, I hope it will change in the nearest time, like in weeks, in the coming weeks. I hope I will find a job and start working, but I will not leave this project now. This is the last time you can create projects. I think because AI is coming. AI is coming for every job, every occupation, every idea, everything. The life will never be the same, and I don't know how long we have, like maybe 2 years, maybe 4 years, something like that. So let's have fun while we can, I guess. Bye.